knows how you come across somebody once in a while you shouldn't have messed with. That's me.
I am not an African American.
You're Oreo cookie. White in the inside and black on the outside.
I don't have an afro. I have an Amerifro.
Talking that idiotic stuff you talk about, I will slap you.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Black at the ace of spades, but 100% American.
Heard around the world by everybody and their mama. The Jesse Lee Peterson Radio Show.
Uniting the races with truth instead of dividing them with lies. We're also rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. I am Jesse Lee Peterson. A lot of talk is happening now about the Muslim community. A lot of people are very concerned about the takeover of the Muslim in this great nation. There's a lot of distrust there because of the Qur'an and what folks have learned about this religion. I have with me Bill Lockwood. He is the preacher at Our Park Church of Christ in Texas. And Bill is also a teacher at the Wichita Falls Independent School District. And also we have Qasim Rashid, an American Muslim human rights activist, author. He's a writer, a columnist for the Huffington Post. And also he is the spokesperson for Ahmadiyya Muslim Community USA. And we're going to discuss the Muslim community, what's going on, to try to get a better understanding. Bill, you wanted to make a comment about Sharia law and women.
Well, I was going to make the comment, since Mr. Rashid brought up about laws regarding divorce and so forth. You know what? The Qur'an itself teaches such, what I'm going to call despicable teachings, such as the wife beating in chapter 4 or Surah 434, and plus the ideas such as temporary contractual marriages. But one of the interesting things is that their testimony in court, he's talking about civil law now, he says, the Quran says the testimony of a woman in court is not as valid as a man's, and you need two women to equal one man in a court of law. And those kinds of concepts are just scattered throughout the Quran. Men belong to a higher level than women, for example. Men are in charge of women. There's a lot of different things like that the Quran teaches. What about those in the civil codes? I mean, this is not just a little something that, we want to believe our religious doctrine and so forth. That's what they teach. That's what the Quran itself teaches.
Judge, can I respond to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So everything the pastor just said is completely false. The Quran does not in any capacity allow men to beat their wives. The Quran does not allow temporary marriages. In fact, God says in the Quran that of all things he has approved, the most hateful is divorce. And no, the Quran does not say that the testimony of a woman is less than a man. And what's disappointing here is that, the Christian leaders that I know and that I've had the pleasure of working with recognize that when it comes to scriptural interpretation, it takes a level of righteousness and it takes a keen eye to make sure that people aren't corrupting Scripture for their own use. We know very well throughout world history how the Bible has been corrupted to endorse slavery and destroying indigenous species, so on and so forth. And so I would respectfully ask that the same courtesy be given to the Quran.
Did they remove that? Did they remove it? Did they remove it from the Quran? That's why it's not there now?
It doesn't exist in the Quran. These are all fabrications. It doesn't exist at all. The Quran, in fact, was the first religious scripture to give women the right to choose who they want to marry, the right to divorce, the right to inherit, the right to own a business, the right to vote, the right to be a political leader. The Quran was the first religion in the world. Islam was the first religion in the world that did this.
How about the right to stone? Can they still stone people according to the Quran?
The Quran absolutely condemns stoning. It does not allow it for any reason. That's a biblical commandment. And when Islam came, the Prophet Muhammad forbade stoning.
Let me squeeze in some call, but let me ask this of you, Qasim. I know that Muslims are taught from day one, the moment that they are born, that they can lie to the infidels. They can lie to the Christians and Jews who they consider to be infidels in order they can befriend them, they can hang out with them, and whatever it takes to deceive them in order to destroy them. And I hear you using religious freedom, which is a deception, something that's used to make us think that is good. How should we trust the Muslim when we know that they have been taught that it's okay to deceive us as Christians?
Well, again, Jesse, that's a complete fabrication. There's nothing in Islam that allows a Muslim to lie, to deceive, to get some kind of advantage. And really, the genius of that argument that you're making is that what I'm saying now could be a lie as well. But if you look at the Quran, time and time and time again, in fact, chapter 2, verse 43, confound not truth with falsehood, nor hide the truth knowingly. The Quran is explicit time and time again that a Muslim has no permission to lie whatsoever and must proclaim the truth, whatever it is. Even in chapter 7, it says, even if it's against yourself, even if it's your parents, even if it's against your children.
But not the Christians and Jews, though. You can lie to them.
No. It says for any person, absolutely not. You're not allowed to lie. Even if it's against yourself. So if you are asking me a question, asking me if I did something wrong, and I have an option of lying to you, I can't.
Let me go down.
There's no possibility. Nothing in the Quran permits it whatsoever.
This is Quran 2:191 through 193. And slay them wherever ye find them, and drive them out of the places whence they drove you out. For persecution is worse than slaughter. But if they desist, then lo, Allah is forgiving and merciful. And fight them until persecution is no more, and religion is for Allah.
The reality is we can get into theological debates here and run around in circles, but this is a question of civil rights and human rights. Jews and Christians have their own separate courts, and if Muslims want to practice their civil matters privately, the U.S. Constitution gives us that right. This is a very basic issue. I can understand people disagree with it, and they have that right, but then they need to go through the Constitution, not violate the Constitution by passing these discriminatory anti-Sharia laws that really ban nothing of substance.
Bill?
Well, first of all, I want to thank Qasim Rashid for coming on the program and talking with us about it. I do want to thank him for that. But I do want to point out that there has been some whitewashing here. The doctrine of taqiyya, lying, is a part and parcel of all aspects of Islam. The Dr. Mukarram, Islamic Studies in the University of Beirut, authored over 25 books on these kinds of topics on Islam. And he basically pointed out that taqiyya, lying to your enemies, is of fundamental importance to Islam. It's based upon the Surah, chapter 3, verse 28. They even say that God deceives, according to 3 and 54 and 8 and 30. And also the wife beating. I'm kind of surprised that Mr. Rashid would deny that. It says very plainly in 4 and 34 of the Quran, that you are to beat your wife. And one of the hadith says that hang up your whip that she might be able to see it. Chapter 2, verse 282 says that the wife's or the woman's testimony is not as valid as a man. I'm reading it right here. From among your men, 2 witnesses. And
again, it's fabrication. I'm sorry, Jesse. I have to interrupt.
But see, that's what concerns me, too.
This is all fabrication. I mean, I'm so surprised that a pastor would make an oath of honesty and then fabricate it. It's remarkable.
Qasim, hold on.
Well, it says right here, it says from among your men 2 witnesses, if 2 men be not attend, and a man and 2 women.
Thank you, guys. I will have you back. I'm out of time. Thank you.
This has been the Jesse Lee Peterson Radio Show, produced by Bond Action. To access the full version of this show, visit us on the web at bondaction.org.